Hello, and we are here again for another episode of the Hot Topic. So welcome and thank you for joining me, whether you are here with me live or you're watching this on the replay. It's really wonderful to be here with you again and have the opportunity to share with you today's hot topic, which comes to you live and direct and hot off the press from yesterday evening's group coaching session, the Fearless Dating group coaching session. So I'm really excited to share with you what stood out as one of the most important aspects of our conversation that I want to share with you here today that you can put into action in your dating life straight away, so you can also become a fearless dater. And if you're feeling as a result of what I've shared with you here today that it's piqued your interest and you feel like I could do with more of that, then stay tuned to the end of today's episode where I'll share a bit more about what else can help you on your fearless dating journey. So thank you so much for being with me, and we're going to get stuck straight in. And if you want to know what the hot topic is, well, week 4 of the Fearless Dating group coaching program is, so the group coaching program is a 10-week journey. And so week 4 is all about co-creating deep connections with your date, with the people that you meet as you date. Because one of the things that comes up time and time again, and I remember when I started dipping my toes back in or into the dating world for the first time properly, I had heard so much that the conversations were really superficial. And when I would go to dating events and when I would go online, it was exactly that. The conversation seemed so shallow and it was boring. It was actually really boring because you would just get asked the same stuff over and over again. Where are you from? What do you do? Where do you live? And it gets really, really freaking boring when you have to do that time and time again. So it takes away that love of dating, that reason why we want to date, you know, the excitement and the enjoyment and the anticipation of who we're going to meet and what our connection's going to be like. But that all gets sapped away when we just get stuck in this conversation that is very run-of-the-mill and just actually quite bland. And so I titled this episode today, The Important Stuff, because essentially that's what we're looking to create a connection based on with someone, right? The important stuff, like we only know how compatible we are with someone when we are willing to go to those places of deep and meaningful conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that every conversation is so deep and so meaningful and serious and there's no room for fun. Absolutely not. You know, we can have deeply meaningful conversations with people and they be so much fun where we're rolling over on the floor with laughter and all of that stuff. So I just want to share that with you, that as you go on to create deep and meaningful conversation with your dates, that you remember that they can be serious depending on what you're talking about, but also there can be that lightness and that fun as well. So bear that in mind as we speak here today and we just unpack this a little together. So thank you so much for everyone joining me. So we've got Isuru and the Tartan Matchmaker as well. Lovely to have you here as well. And Charlotte SP700. So if you have any questions along the way, if you have any thoughts on what I'm sharing as well, please do interact with me. It always makes these conversations that much more fun, and I know that it's helping you as well. And you know, the Tartan Matchmaker, if you have any sort of things that you would like to add based on your experience that you've had with your clients in terms of helping them really co-create deep connection with their matches, I'd love to hear that as well, and I can imagine that would be of so much use to everyone that's watching live or on the replay. So let's get stuck in. Now, the reason why week 4 is about co-creating deep connection is because, as I mentioned earlier, when I was dating, I really felt that I wanted to go beyond. I wanted to go beyond the run-of-the-mill conversations, because I just knew I wouldn't be able to sustain that for very long, and it would make me fall out of love with dating. I wanted it to be something that was interesting, but got me to that place of really understanding the person that I was sat in front of, or walking around the park with, or at a dating event with. And so first and foremost, when I was at a dating event, so not on the first date with someone, but either on an app or at a dating event specifically, I always tried to have a question in mind that I felt would help me go beyond that obvious. And actually, I didn't just use this for dating events. I used to do and go to a lot of networking events as well. And I just am quite a sociable person. So I love to be in environments where I'm meeting new people frequently. And so I used to love asking people what they were most excited about. And the beauty of asking that question was that you would see this moment of switch in them, where they would be like, oh, okay, that's different. Like I'm used to being asked, what do I do, or how am I, but I've never been asked, what am I most excited about? And you would just see them actually think about their response, because how many times have you asked someone how they are, and they're like, oh, I'm fine, oh yeah, I'm good, oh great. And there's no thought, there's no actual real feeling behind what they're saying and what they're sharing with you. It's just a very off the cuff kind of, yeah, this is my response to that question. Or if you ask them where they work, again, it's just they've been asked that question so many times that they just respond in a very specific way that they're used to. So they're not going to that thinking part of their brain. And I can see Tartan Matchmaker has shared something with us. So it's great to have a question that will provide emotion or their passion, something which is a bit more thought-provoking. Absolutely. And I think this is what having this question or set of questions in your pocket as you go dating, as you go on a first date with someone, as you date online, of if you're working with a matchmaker as well, and you're having these conversations with your matches, to have this little arsenal of questions there for you to be able to really ask someone and find out what they're about beyond the obvious. So to share or to ask someone, what are you most excited about? As I said earlier, they go to that thinking part of their brain, and they're like, okay, well, there's this thing that I'm really excited about. And I just seen another comment from the Tartan Matchmaker. When I do my consultations, I always ask my clients, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? That's fantastic. I love that, because, yeah, again, it's asking us to go beyond the obvious. It gets them really thinking. It's something people never think about. Exactly, and that's the really important part that you've said there, right? It really gets them thinking, and that's what we want to do. And I think that's one of the ways that we can really make a great impression and leave a great impression with someone, when we're the ones that actually made them think in a way that actually feels quite different to other dates that they've been on. That's how we get to leave a lasting impression with someone. So yeah, absolutely, find these questions that you can really ask in this way. Tartan Matchmaker is saying, when you do speed dating, you need to stand out of the crowd. You only have a few minutes to make an impression. Absolutely. That's why these questions are really, really important. And I learned this when I was working in the dating events industry for a while as well, because sometimes if the numbers weren't quite equal, me as the host, I would have to fill in sometimes, make sure that everyone's attended to. And so to make it interesting for me, but also for the people that had invested their time, their money, their energy in that event tonight, there had to be some interesting conversation there, something that goes beyond, hey, how are you, over and over and over again. So this question of what are you really excited about, or what excites you the most? Now, in some cases, it may elicit a slightly explicit response, but honestly, for the vast majority of the times, it doesn't. It really gets people thinking like, well, what am I excited about? Because they also go into that space within themselves where they also want to make a good impression, right? So they think about that. And what is really, really revealing about this particular question when asked in this way is, I think it really points out the people that live life in a really appreciative and quite magical way as well. Because when we think of the question, what are you most excited about? It's easy to think, oh, well, if I haven't got something that I'm excited about right now, or something exciting should be big, right? And therefore they'll say, oh no, nothing, there's nothing going on right now. In which case, that gives you an insight into perhaps the mind of this person, that actually maybe they do think that exciting things need to be big. Whereas I find the people that I'm most attracted to, and that I've found for my clients as well, are the ones that find the magic in the supposedly mundane, right? That find the excitement even in the smallest of things. So even if it's like, oh, do you know what? It's actually been a pretty run-of-the-mill day, but I'm really freaking excited about the fact that I found this coffee shop around the corner from my house that sells the most amazing hot chili chocolate, and I absolutely love hot chili chocolate. So I am so excited about that because I'm going to be there every day. And imagine if someone said that to you when you asked them what they're most excited about. It'd be quite unexpected to receive an answer like that. But also, they found excitement in the seemingly small thing in their day, and they conveyed it in a way that was interesting and fun and gave you a real insight into who they are. So this is the beauty of having these questions that go beyond the obvious. These are the questions that allow you to really see and hear the important things that someone has to share, and that are important for you to know if you are potentially going to go on a date with them in the future, maybe create a relationship with them, right? So that's just something to be aware of as you meet people online and at events, when you've got a shorter space of time to get to know them. Just have those few quick, easy to answer questions to really get someone thinking, as the Tartan Matchmaker said as well, to really get them thinking. So yeah, Tartan Matchmaker says, totally agree with you. Thank you so much. And Isuru is doing a clap motion there. So Isuru, do share with us as well what's standing out to you specifically from what we've spoken about so far. But now I want to move things to the date itself, when you've got more time together. And I say the date, but also, when you're on the phone, or if you're having a video call together as well, this is where you've got more time to really get to know each other and have deeper conversations. So in week 4 of the Fearless Dating Group Coaching Program, we go through a practice where I actually take part in this as well. So I kind of remove my coaching hat for this practice that we do, and I enter into this space as a participant. And we do these rounds of deep sharing, and we go through the group one by one, all sharing a specific response to a question that I pose. So I don't pose it so much as a question, but I pose it as a sentence stem. So for example, I may say, I love ... right? And I'll respond to that. And one by one, we'll go around the actual circle and we'll respond to that question. Now, there are a few ground rules when we do this. Firstly, I'm the first to respond. Now, this is really important to remember when you are thinking about asking the deeper, more important, significant questions as you date. Always be willing to go first. It creates such a sense of safety with your partner, with your date, that okay, she's not firing a question at me about something really big and important and expecting me to respond, and kind of leaving me feeling quite vulnerable and exposed. No, in you going first, well, you show great leadership in that moment, but you also, as I said, you create that sense of safety that it's okay to share here. And the deeper, more vulnerable, more open you as the person asking the question are being as you do that, the more opportunity you have for your date to reciprocate that with you, right? So it's really, really important to make sure that you're laying that ground of almost like judgment-free, criticism-free space, a safe space for someone to share into. So always be willing to go first. That's a really important thing. So you may do this in one of two ways. Now, in the Fearless Dating Group Coaching Program, what happens is I start the sentence stem. So what I love is, and then I'll finish that, and then the next person will go. But what actually happened in the last round of Fearless Dating, when I was running it later last year, as the group became more accustomed to this practice, we did it slightly differently, where I would share something, or we would share something, and then ask the question about it. Because if you think about it, it may not, on a date or on a phone call, it may not be very natural to be like, well, okay, now I'm going to complete this sentence stem. What I love is da 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 da, and you tell me. Whereas actually to have it be a more natural conversation of, oh, do you know what I love? I love that I get to do this work. This work is an absolute passion of mine, and I get to have these beautiful conversations with people in this way, and this, I get to call this my work. What about you? What do you love? See, so it's a much more natural way of going about this asking these questions, and for the conversation to flow as well. So I can see some comments popping up, so I'm just going to attend to them. So Siri says, I often open up with, what music and arts are you into? But it comes across as flat and boring, even though those things excite me. And Tartan Matchmaker saying, why don't you change it up a bit and ask them what is the latest musician you have discovered whose music really spoke to you? It's the same question, but it opens up a new conversation. I like to see that. Siri's saying that's a really good idea, asking it in a way that makes it more interesting and dynamic. Absolutely. So it's like what we've been sharing here, right? Of open it with you sharing first. Or remember this as a rule for when you're trying to create deep connection and conversation with someone. Lead first, go first. Right? Remember that as a rule. So do you know what I'm loving right now? The latest Foo Fighters album. I absolutely love it. My favorite track is this and this, because the drums are flipping amazing on that. And whatever else you want to share about that. What about you? Like, what's your favorite track right now? I think sometimes we can go too big with our questions, and so sometimes asking like what musical artist you like, or can be too broad. Whereas if you're a bit more laser-like with your approach, then you have the opportunity to open up the conversation that much more. So see, I've gone straight to the Foo Fighters album. I've just shared specifically a track that I really love and the reason why I love it. So I've gone really, really laser with it, and therefore you then have the opportunity to turn around to that person and say, like, is there a track, like what's your track, what's a track that's on repeat right now, right? And that again just gives them laser focus, so they're not having to fluster around for an answer. And then with that together, you can go on an exploration of actually opening things up. Nirvana trumps Foo Fighters. I love them both, so whatever. Right? But we're not going to go into that debate right now. But you know what? The going in with a laser focus like that and thinking about stretching it out then also means that the conversation has more touch points. You can go to many different places when you have this conversation in this way. So absolutely make it more dynamic, make it more interesting by leading first and going in with a specific example that you can passionately share about. Because what your earlier question is missing is that it is feeling flat because there's none of you in that question. You know, if we see what music and arts are you into, it's missing Isuru. Like, where's Isuru in that question? I can't hear him, I can't see him. And you know, you've been to the Fearless Dating Profile Makeover, and remember how we talked about letting someone into your world. Let them into your world by sharing a piece of you. So if you go to that place of being very specific about what you love and why you're passionate about it, you're more likely to elicit that kind of response and have that reciprocated by your date, by whoever you're sharing that with. So I hope that helps, Isuru. And yeah, let me know if you have any more questions there. So that's first. Make sure that you lead the way, and lead the way with some kind of laser focus as well if there's a specific area that you want to focus on. Then make sure that you are listening deeply, because this is the other thing. When we're asking people questions, we're often kind of waiting for when, as they do start talking, for the next space for us to share something, like, or to ask the next question. So we're not actually really being present to what they're saying. And then is it any wonder why later down the line, when you've been dating this person for a while, you're like, I don't like this thing about this person. Well, they shared that with you on the date. You just weren't listening, right? People are always showing you who they really are. But we have to be willing to listen, and it's a full-bodied listening as well. It's not just with our ears, right? It's actually like paying close attention to this person. So one thing that came up yesterday with two of my clients in the group was around body, like movement, right? When one member of the group was sharing, I noticed that another member of the group, another of my clients, was moving around a lot, you know, kind of touching her hair a lot, leaning back, forward, here, there, everywhere. And it was very distracting to me as a participant in that group. So I can imagine that it was the same for the person that was sharing, my other client that was sharing. And so I reflected this back to my client, and she's aware that she is a bit of a fidget, and she was going to start to work on that, right? So that is something to be really, really aware of, is once you've asked that question of someone, be fully present to them. Still your body as much as you can, and let them know that you're engaged, right? By having a soft smile on your face, perhaps, and really looking at them, you know, sharing eye contact with them. And I know sometimes it can feel like, oh God, I don't want to be like staring at them. Of course, we don't want you to be staring out your date and freaking them out. But of course, you know, just letting them know by looking at them in the eyes and being present, right? A soft gaze, not like a hard stare. Have that kind of stillness about you. It's really, really important. So minimize the fidgeting and the fussing around, and really engage with them. And another thing that came up as we were sharing in this way yesterday was we have this rule as we go around the group to make sure that no one interjects, or no one actually makes comment upon the other person's response, right? So we go around the circle, and we literally, that space is theirs, right? And it's not about nodding furiously or making lots of facial expressions or anything like that, which can sometimes be construed as judgment when we're like really, really reacting with our faces in that way, or like nodding furiously. But actually to be just very quite still, right? Engaged, listen deeply, and keep those spaces of silence as well. Open up that space for silence and space, because as one of my clients reflected back yesterday after we completed this, was that actually she realized that she shared more and that she heard other people share more when there was this space of knowing that other people weren't going to make commentary upon what she said. And that's something that we really, really steal from people. How often do you notice that you're finishing other people's sentences, or they're doing the same to you? But how could you possibly know that that was exactly the word that they were going to go for? Or how do you know that that was where they were done sharing? And just being able to create that bit more space with someone allows you to just go so much deeper, and sometimes go to some unexpected places with what you're sharing, because you know you've got that space. So it's really, really important when you are having these kind of conversations with people, just to keep that space open. Don't rush to finish sentences. And I know it can be when we're feeling excited in our date with someone, we're like, I want to be the person that finishes your sentences. So you can see how in sync we are. But man, what a gift it is to give someone when you just give them the space to share as much as they want to share. Because as I said, we're in a really noisy world now, where people are always fighting for your attention, right? And therefore, to create that respite for someone to share at their own pace is a beautiful, beautiful gift to give someone as well. So be fully present, listen actively, and create space, create that stillness for someone to share deeply. And I like to use the politician's trick when it comes to conversations on dates, because, as I was saying earlier, sometimes we do get asked these questions that we're just really tired of hearing time and time again. And so when someone asks us a question that maybe we don't really want to answer, not because it's horrible, because that requires a different response, but actually we're just a little bit bored of being asked that question time and time again. The politician's trick is to answer the question you would love to have been asked, right? So if they ask you, do you really love your job? Right? Do you love your job? Or do you love your place of work? And if you don't, then you may not want to bring that up right now, like, I really hate the place that I'm working for. But actually, you can switch it with the politician's trick, where you can say, well, what I love about what I do, because what you do can sometimes be quite different from the job or the place that you work at, right? You may be doing that job because there's something that you really, really love about it. So to actually share, well, what I love about what I do or get to do every day is this very specific thing. And I don't really get to do that so much at the place that I'm working at right now. So I'm actually looking to find a new job or start my own business or something like that. So again, you're just opening the doors to this person getting to know so much more about you, instead of getting trapped in that question that you may have not enjoyed answering because you've had it asked so many times, or it may lead to maybe a slightly more negative response, right? So there's a good few things there for you to practice on your next date, on your next phone call. But remember this, right? Prep goes a long way. And I think sometimes preparation when it comes to dating is sometimes looked at as a bit of a weird, geeky, why would you do that for a date? It's kind of looked at in that way. Whereas, if you're looking to create something deeply meaningful with someone, and if you're looking to have an enjoyable dating experience, then just in the same way that you would prep for an interview for the career of your dreams, the job of your dreams, or any other area of your life that is important and significant, I think it's very much the same for your dating life as well. So to make sure that you've done a bit of prep, right, where you have, as I said earlier, that little arsenal, that little toolkit of a few questions that you love asking people, you love hearing the answer to because every response is so wildly different. That's really, really important. And just to practice with friends and family, people that you trust, that practice of being willing to share first and then ask a question, and then being very still and very open to listening to their response. That can deepen your friendships and your family relationships immensely, and then you'll be that much more practiced, that much better at having conversations in this way when you're on dates as well. So I hope what you have shared has been wonderful. So thank you for all of the interaction. Tartan Matchmaker says also, if you repeat something they say, it shows you are listening. Absolutely, that mirroring in the way that we communicate with someone is so important, because being able to mirror the words that they use, or perhaps the mannerisms that they're using, can really help create rapport with someone, and it can really help someone feel heard and really deeply listened to. So do bring that in as well. That mirroring approach is really, really fantastic. So thank you so much for all of the interaction today. I really, really appreciated it. So it brings so much more life to these conversations, and I love to learn from you all as well. This is a learning experience for all of us. So thank you so much for being here, and for anyone that's watching this on the replay, if what I've shared with you today about the Fearless Dating group coaching program and experience has really piqued your interest, and you feel like I could do with that sort of support, I could do with learning those skills so that I'm able to date really well and enjoy dating, and also be able to create that relationship of my dreams, then reach out to me. Hit the link in my bio and you'll see the first button that comes up will allow you to book a no-fee coaching call with me, where we'll be able to look at where you're at right now, where you want to be in your dating life, in your love life, and how we can start to bridge that gap, so you'll have something really tangible to put into action straight away. And we can also discuss how the Fearless Dating group coaching program, which starts on the 1st of June, can help you become a fearless dater in your life as well. So I can't wait to go on that journey with you. Let me know if you have any questions about what we've discussed here today. Drop them in the comments or send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. I love having these conversations so much. So thank you so much, Tartan Matchmaker. Thank you everyone that joined here today, and everyone that's watching this in the replay. And I can't wait to be with you next week again for the next episode of The Hot Topic. Sending you love. Speak to you soon. Bye.